Anne, hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for meeting me today. And today we're going to talk about the LTNs, the impact the LTNs have had on you and your life. Tell me a little bit about you and where you live, and what is the closest LTN or bus gate to you?
I live in Littlemore Road. I've lived there for 29 years now, so a fair old time.
Yeah.
The nearest one is the Coral Road, but I'm also impacted by the Bartholomew Road bus gate.
The bus gate, yeah. So you lived there 29 years. So let's start from the beginning. What was life like without the LTNs before?
Littlemore Road had got busier over the years, so I guess it was obvious that at some point there was going to be some type of traffic calming measure.
Yeah.
What we wouldn't have expected is that bars would be dropped to us in the middle of a pandemic, almost unnoticed, and unless you happened to be outside the co-op on a certain day, you wouldn't even know this was happening. You just woke up one day to find park boxes in the middle of our roads.
Why do you think they chose the pandemic to start the trial?
Possibly because we wouldn't notice the impact at that time, because nobody was going out much anyway. The road was quiet anyway, so to begin with, I guess there would have been very little change to people's lives.
So do you think it was done statistically and logistically?
I think it was done financially, as my
to
understanding.
benefit.
They were suddenly being given a wudgeon money from the government,
Yeah.
and they thought, I know, we'll put them there.
Yeah. Okay. So 29 years in Littlemore Road is a long time.
Yeah.
So you must have that little niggling feeling in the back of your head. Have you got family that live close to you?
Yeah, my daughter lives 4 doors away with my grandchildren.
Right.
And her husband.
So you all must be sitting down, perhaps over Sunday dinner, thinking, why the hell have they chosen East Oxford to do this? Why this area? Why East Oxford?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the East Oxford LTNs are slightly different. So our area has now been turned into a giant cul-de-sac involving thousands of houses. I mean, this is a huge area, not a small area.
Yeah.
It also impacts Littlemore hugely. So Littlemore Road was their lifeline. Littlemore has no facilities whatsoever, no GP surgery, no dentist. So for the people of Littlemore, this is a massive cut-off from all the facilities that they need on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I think the council chose our area because I think this is the most deprived area in the city. They think that people are largely pretty stupid there, that we've got no voice, and that actually we'll shout a bit and then we'll all go quiet and just accept it.
Do you think that's the plan? Do you think they're not ignoring us, even though possibly they are ignoring us, but they're sort of putting up with the voice that we're giving out, and they're maybe thinking, do you know what, the financial benefit outweighs the complaints that we're getting, and sooner or later they'll stop because they'll get bored and they'll move on. Do you think that's something that they...
I think they do. I think they put them down in a lockdown.
Yeah.
So although there was a bit of resistance, there wasn't a massive resistance, and it seems to only now have really accelerated due to the East Oxford LTN. So they have now created a massive outcry. But before that, it really affected only the people in that small area. There may be a lot of people in my road that actually quite like it, and I can see the reasons why. There are some downsides to it, so things like crime, drug dealing, all of those have increased since the LTNs went into place.
Is that something that you and your family on that road see a lot?
Regularly, almost daily.
Almost daily. So you're retired now.
Yeah.
Do you feel safe walking your own street at night?
I personally do, because anybody that tried to attack me had it come into them. So my neighbours certainly, I've got elderly neighbours. The road that I live in is a road that you go out on in your box. So there's an awful lot of elderly people there.
Yeah.
They're all people that have retired from the car factory because County was built on the back of the factory.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a diverse mixture of people in our community, and there are an awful lot of people in their 80s and 90s in that area. largely, they're quite scared to go out at night. It's very quiet. I walk my dog every evening, and I can sometimes do a 20-minute walk and not see one person. So for some people, that's really scary.
Yeah.
They feel more confined to their homes now.
Yeah. What was it like before the LTN in that area? Were there people out on the street mixing? Were neighbours being neighbourly? Were there conversations had? Were people swapping cooking stories, etc., etc.? or was it a case of the stories that we're being told now by a certain pro-LTN group? Do you think that's poppycock?
I think I live on a main road, and it was not a very busy road, but it was fairly busy. People tended to keep themselves much to themselves. That hasn't changed. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed on Littlemore Road.
We don't speak to anybody. I only know my neighbours in the sort of 5 or 6 houses around me.
Yeah.
Over the road.
Yeah.
There is no feel of community, and yet actually we've got a co-op on the corner, so there's a community shop as well. But it isn't a community. It's never going to be a village.
Yeah.
That hasn't helped in any shape or form. The road is still fairly busy, so you might have avoided cars, but there's still local traffic coming through that's having to do the circle. There's a massive increase in Deliveroo and also motorbikes. There's a massive increase in speed because
That's interesting.
it's an open road now.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of speeding, a lot of cars doing 60, 70 and 20 miles.
Is that right?
At night,
Wow.
absolutely. There's no one to stop us. There's no police presence. That's the same reason that there's an increase in shoplifting in the co-op. They know. And actually, one of the councillors said to me, and I had an earlier meeting, we went to the meeting that Tim Bearder actually said, we're doing all this to save the koalas because they're dying evidently.
Who was that said that?
Chris Mountains. Tim Bearder said
Tim
that.
Bearder, yeah.
He said what we all need to realise is koalas are dying.
Yeah.
Which, given the impact this has had on everybody's life, was a ridiculous comment. He's now known as Koala Man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just to add on to that point, koalas perhaps are suffering because of the climate. There is a climate issue. We all know that. We all know there's a lot of cars on the roads. Perhaps more cars than there were in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and even the noughties. But do you think, as a resident on a main arterial road that's used by a big demographic there, do you think that bollard helped?
No, I think it's caused huge upset within the community, so that you'll have people that are very for it, and often, I have to say, the reasons they're for it are very selfish reasons. It's because they like the quietness, and I sort of get it, but actually there's a bigger picture here. There was a majority against these, and there's still a majority against these.
What can you remember what the majority figure was?
64%.
That's a big number, isn't it? Big number.
Only 26% for, and the remainder were a bit undecided. Fair enough, there were always going to be an undecided group. They want to check it out and see.
Yeah.
So that's a massive. So for me, my outrage is about the lack of democracy, about the lack of engagement from the council, about the lies, and what feels like corruptness.
Do you feel, as a resident there and your family living on that same road, do you feel that you were educated enough by the powers that be to make an initial decision? Now, I live in Littlemore. We got a letter through the post saying, please give me your views on this, even before it happened. I didn't even know what an LTN was. I had no clue. And I said to my partner, what's an LTN? How is this going to impact our lives? We didn't know. Do you feel that you were consulted enough by the powers that be to make an informed and educated decision?
Not at all, because firstly, like you, I didn't know what an LTN was. Secondly, we were in the middle of a lockdown, and it was that they just put a table up outside the co-op. If you didn't happen to go to the co-op on that day, you'd have missed the whole thing anyway. They had these lovely drawings with pretty painted flower boxes with all flowers growing out, which were much lower in their drawings than they are.
Yeah.
And they also made us understand that actually this was a trial, and they were going to test it and see what we all thought as residents. Not to worry.
Great point. Great point.
Without the approval and the support of the residents. So I feel misled, lied to. Actually turned up with great big ugly boxes with fluorescent signage all over them. My daughter lives dead opposite. She looks out now onto these hideous boxes with signs all over them that's turned into a car park now because the roads are no use, and so therefore the cars pull in. It's about 3 deep and they can all just walk it all off. So she's now looking onto a car park which is regularly used by drug dealers to cycle up, park their drugs, and a few minutes later somebody else cycles up and collects them.
There was a wonderful video put on the group a little while ago which clearly depicted a gentleman urinating in one of the boxes and then burying something within one of the boxes that he'd urinated on, and then somebody coming along a short time after and retrieving whatever was buried in there. Do you think that was drug dealing? Do you think that was blatant drug dealing?
It's hard to tell, but it probably was similar to the sorts of things we see on a regular basis. So people hanging about outside the co-op, outside the bus stop. So, we see them and they're standing there and, they're waiting there and there's not going to be a bus, and then along with somebody cycles and then they're gone again. So it's openly going on.
So the council and TVP have released stats recently. And it basically says that drug dealers are maybe crippled slightly because of the LTNs in the boxes because they can't travel. There was it wasn't a video, it was a couple of pictures down on Divinity Road where a car had crashed coming down Divinity Road, or was it Southfield Road? I can't remember. It was a drug deal and it was being chased by the police and it crashed. Do you feel maybe that the LTNs, specifically the flower boxes themselves, are maybe aiding drug dealers?
I think the whole quiet road is aiding drug. So under the cloak of knowing much about, it's flourishing. And I think they're using that. They're using that for shoplifting, for stealing. I think there must be an increase in crime because I hear neighbours being talked about their sheds being broken into. The trouble is, I think now we don't actually believe anybody. The emergency services seem to be silent. They've been told not to say that ambulances are being held up. We're seeing this. We're seeing this almost on a weekly basis of ambulances running around with blue lights, not being able to get through. So the trouble is, what's being information being given isn't actually in line with what we're as residents actually seeing. So are we seeing reduced crime? No. Are we seeing ambulances going around easily? No. Are we seeing reduced traffic? No. Are we seeing a lot more cycling? No. Are we seeing safe cycling? Absolutely not. They are gone completely mad now. They're riding all over the middle of the road. My daughter was driving along only yesterday, and a cyclist came out of a side road straight in front of her. She slammed her brakes on to let him go, and then he gave us a lot of abuse. He came out of a side road in front of the car.
Is that in an LTN area?
Absolutely, in an LTN area. So I think what's happening is cyclists are now being given this idea that they've got some sort of invisible cloak that they can just go anywhere. It's actually giving a false sense of security. It's not safe. I think even pedestrians can be almost fooled into thinking you can just walk out. No, you can't. There's motorbikes coming along, there's deliveries coming along, there's electric scooters coming along. And the trouble is, you haven't only got to watch out on the road now, I've got to watch out on the pavement. I have to look both ways before I step out on my gate now, because I'm likely to be knocked flat by a bicycle or a scooter. Yesterday, I came along the Iffley Road where thousands and thousands of pounds have been spent, hundreds of thousands probably. The whole city uprooted to make wider cycle paths. And yesterday, coming along, there were 2 cyclists zooming along the pavement at speed. Why? Why would that happen?
Did you see the picture that has been put on by Pete West? It's been copied so many thousands of times on Twitter and on our group. And it's a guy cycling up the pavement up where the new quickways are, where South Parks is. I can't remember that road there. Now that was implemented by a councillor who lives in Summertown, who made a video recently, bawling in tears, last year or 2 years ago, bawling in tears. I'm not going to mention the name, but we all know who they is. I've never seen that councillor using those quickways or that road, and I'm hesitant to say I've seen more use of bikes on the pavement where those quickways are than there are bikes using the quickways. Do you think the council would have been better off spending their money somewhere else instead of using that money for quickways that aren't being used?
The whole scheme is ludicrous. I think they've gone too far. No, I don't think anybody in their right mind would suggest that the roads are busy and that something needed to be done. But
Yeah.
they've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. There's no pathway, and this has caused Oxford to be divisive. I have never. Oxford is probably one of the most friendly cities that I know. I take foreign students on a regular basis. And I always say to them how safe the city is, how friendly we are, and we live with quite a lot of different cultures, and we live side by side happily. Never in my 69 years of being here have I ever seen such divisiveness, such anger, such frustration, and Oxford is just being destroyed. It's not the Oxford we all knew and loved.
It's not the Oxford that we all knew and loved. That's a great point. I'm going to stop you there because my battery power is running out. But I want to ask you a very serious question now. So somebody that's been living in Oxford for all of your life, most of your life, you live in an LTN area now. That's probably one of the most talked about LTNs in Oxford, I believe. How can we, as an LTN group, anti-LTN group, put over an argument that's going to be listened to by not just by the pros, but by the powers that be, the council, the county council, local government even? How can we compromise and remove the LTNs in the AMPR? What argument can we put across, in your opinion, that we can use to say, get rid of these bollards, get rid of the AMPRs, get rid of all the bus gates, you don't need them. It's slowing buses down, not speeding up, but put this in place instead.
I mean, there's many other traffic calming measures that can be used. One of those things that flashes up how many miles an hour you're going, I personally find them extremely good. Nobody wants to end up having points on their licence. So, I think sometimes people just don't even realise how fast they're going. So I think that's probably a really good one. I think clearing all the roads just for cyclists is a crazy idea. We need to make this safe for everybody, and we need to make areas accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
What's happening now is that they take all the parking away outside the various parks in Oxford. Now, I don't think children shouldn't be playing in the road. That's what parks are for. And now the parks limits for a huge amount of people in the city. I personally won't be able to get to Southwark anymore. So unless their parks are within distance, you actually have swayed the community and now being stopped from using those facilities.
Yeah. So do you think the AMPRs are a good thing or a bad thing in replace of the bollards?
Well, it depends who they're going to let through. I mean, what's their criteria going to be? Nobody knows. It's probably better than what's there.
Yeah.
It would mean the emergency services can get through for sure.
Yeah.
Which has got to be a good thing.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to see people like
No,
ambulances
no.
not getting through. It's stressful. It must be stressful for them. It's stressful for them.
Yeah, we've all seen the videos of the blue lights flashing, and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that could be one of my relatives they're trying to get to. So, that would be solved with that. Probably isn't the whole answer, but to be honest, we're talking about a council that doesn't communicate, that isn't open to conversation,
No.
doesn't answer any emails.
No.
We're talking about a council that are bullies, to be honest.
What do you think about Liz Liffman's statement on the radio yesterday, where her closing words to the interviewer was, "We are committed." Now, what I know what I can read into that. What do you read into that?
It's just more bully boy tactics.
Yeah,
isn't it?
sure.
what she didn't say is we're listening, and actually it's the one thing she should be doing.
Yeah.
And she or any of the other councils, they're not listening. They're pretending in some places to listen, but they're listening to nothing. They don't answer. In fact, when I went to a council meeting a couple of weeks ago, they first of all had to apologise for not answering the emails. I mean, that's their job. That's what they're there for.
That's the electorate, yeah.
Yeah, and what they some excuse was, you must understand, we get 60 or 70 emails a day. Well, that must mean people are upset.
Yeah.
If you're getting that many emails a day, there's a problem.
Means that they need to
Address the
start
problem,
addressing that.
Answer the people. Instead of that, they've just ignored them.
Yeah.
There is huge anger in Oxford.
Yeah.
We are verging towards civil unrest.
Yeah.
And it's all of the blame for that. Not with the anti-LTNs, not actually even with the pro-LTNs. The real problem here is the council.
And their lack
the
of...
problem this is their fault. All of it. This lays at the council's door.
One last thing I just want to ask you about, Anne, is you're a member of the anti-LTN under-censor group. You have been for quite a while. There's a lot of us that are. I own the group. I started the group for people like yourself that hadn't had a voice before, or perhaps did have a voice before, but then that carpet was pulled away. How beneficial do you think that anti-LTN group is to people like yourself?
Incredibly, because it makes you feel less alone. You realise that actually there are people out there, actually people with a bit of common sense, because you begin to think you're in some sort of martial land where everybody's speaking another language. For me, although I am impacted by the LTNs, although I find that I'm retired, so I don't have to be out first thing in the morning. I don't have to be out late at night. I can avoid the most congested times. For others, like my daughter who lives 4 doors away, she's hugely impacted. My granddaughter has autism, so being in traffic is very stressful. All the things that go with that. So she's hugely impacted. And she's my daughter, so I'm concerned for her. But for me, it's the lack of democracy. For me, if a small minority can get something like this through, what next? What other nut job thing is going to land on our doorstep? And I'm not stupid enough or selfish enough not to consider the impact that actually this is having on other roads. So my road, we've sort of run, if you like, on the LTN lottery. Apart from having to go out of our way, we spend much more time in the car, use much more fuel. Actually, we're one of the winners, if you like. Whereas if you live on one of the other roads where they're having to all their roads pumped up, their houses are devalued by £50,000 or whatever. You know, I'm not selfish enough to consider that. Oh, you know what? That's not right.
Anne, you're amazing. Thank you very much. Keep fighting the fight. Thank you so much.